I had an interesting thought the other day, and when God kind of talked to me about it, it helped me to realize something in a way that I'd never really considered it before. I was watching a video on here, and there were two women that were having a conversation about the Holy Spirit. And as they were talking, they were discussing how one of the main names for the Holy Spirit is the Helper. And the reason they brought this up is because whatever, I'm assuming it was like a show or a podcast or something, but whatever media event it was dealing specifically with women and talking about women and their roles in the Bible and things like that. And the woman that was speaking was talking about how she thought it was very interesting that the Holy Spirit, even though he is called the Comforter and he's called many things, he's mainly called the Helper. And that when God made Eve, he called her the Helper, that woman is to be the helper of man. And when I heard that, it's like, that is really, really weird, because when you think about it, that all of that is true. The female is to be the helper. The Holy Spirit is to be the helper. That's a really weird coincidence. And so I was talking to God, and I was trying to kind of understand what I was processing with it. And he said something to me that I think I just had never considered before. So we know that in the beginning, God begot Jesus. There was no female necessary for the creation of Christ, at least not in the human form. God begot Jesus himself, thus the Holy Spirit himself. We also know that in John, I believe it's John, either John or Matthew, when Mary is visited by Gabriel, and he tells her that she is going to bear God's son, he says that the Holy Spirit will come over her, and then she will become pregnant. We also know in Genesis, when God basically created Adam, what brought Adam to life was the breath of God. God breathed into him, and he lived. I'm interested in words and etymology and things like that. When you look at the Greek word used both in that verse and then also in the beginning when God created the earth, the word used in the Greek where we see spirit is breath. So, in essence, the breath of God was over the water. The breath of God came over Mary and she became pregnant. That breath of God is what brought consciousness to Adam. The Spirit of God is what brought consciousness to Adam. So, okay, we've got Holy Spirit is the helper. We also see that woman means helper and also is to be a helper. What I notice is while God, the Godhead, carries a lot of what we would consider to be very masculine traits, the one that will fight for you, that will save you, that will rescue you, that will die for you, that all of these things that we as humans for some reason tend to attribute with masculinity, right? The Holy Spirit, even though it is God, it is the Spirit of Jesus, so I'm not saying it's a female, don't get me wrong there, but the Holy Spirit is described a bit differently. It's described as being the comforter. It's described as nurturing. It's described as helping. It's described as the one that has empathy with the human, that gives sound conscience, the sound conscience of man that tells you that's really not a good thing to do, or you should do that. It seems to have qualities that are 100% necessary, but are much softer. As I was kind of processing this and talking to God about it, a thing hit me that in the beginning, when he says, "Let us make man in our image," obviously he's talking to Jesus and the Holy Spirit. But I kind of think that that creation process was twofold. The reason that there needed to be not just man, and man exists by himself, but that there also needed to be woman, and the reason that the Bible describes women as being the weaker or more fragile vessel, right? The softer vessel. I think it's because when God made Adam, he made Adam in the likeness of his own likeness, in the likeness of Jesus. Jesus is his son, so he made Adam in the likeness of God's son, in the likeness of the visible image of the invisible God. But I think when he made Eve, the reason he made her as he did is because she was made in the likeness of the Holy Spirit. Now, again, I'm not saying the Holy Spirit is female, I don't think that, but she was made to be weaker. She was made to be more soft. She was made to be more nurturing. She was made to be more empathetic. She was made to be more emotional. She was made to be the comforter of her husband. She was made to be the helper. I think that when it says, let us make man in our image, it is 100% correct, but I don't think that we've understood that statement as well as maybe we could. And the reason I kind of think this is because when you think about the creation of Adam and Eve, in order for it to be made in the likeness of three, there would have to be three components. There would have to be the flesh, there would have to be the spirit, and there would have to be the soul. God is the soul. The soul that we carry within us is that piece of God that connects us to Him. The Holy Spirit is always with us, it's always in us. That's not what I'm talking about. But your soul is that part of God that He gave you, that gave you life, that gave you the light that's in your eyes. That is the part of God. So we've got that. For the flesh, God made the invisible image of Himself in Jesus. So we have that for man. Man could not resemble God because God, again, is an invisible God. We humans cannot perceive Him, but we can perceive His likeness. So Adam is made after Jesus. The Holy Spirit, again, because it is a spirit, we may not be able to physically perceive it, but we can feel it. We can feel it on a heart level, on an emotional level, on a conscience level. So woman is made in the likeness of the Holy Spirit, the attributes that the Holy Spirit carries. Both of them basically still have the soul, so they both are still that triune being because they both have a spirit, but one is made after Jesus and the other is made after the likeness of the Holy Spirit, connected through that piece of God that is in them. I don't know. I just thought that was really cool, and I thought I would throw it out there and see what you guys thought. So, thank you for listening.